Last time we left off here, Megatron recruited Skyquake to his cause a lot earlier due to the sheer fact he needed more muscle, more military muscle, if you will. And so, on the battle for the space bridge here and to hopefully save Cybertron from dark energon poisoning, Jazz winding up actually forming a heated rivalry with Skyquake here, who is now taking over the Decepticons despite the fact that Starscream is his second in command here. Plus, I don't think Starscream's gonna, try to pull rank over Skyquake. I mean, that dude's kind of a wimp here. I mean, just it is what it is here. And so, with that being said, here the Autobots are actually celebrating at least for a moment here. However, Jazz is actually talking with Optimus, wondering if maybe they could likely help him get back to his home dimension. To which Optimus says that while he would like to, they don't know how. And in all honesty, he thinks Jazz should stay. To which Jazz is concerned. What about his own dimension? He doesn't know, what's going on here. To which Optimus says that is understandable. And hopefully one day they can give him that chance. But right now, they would actually welcome him with open arms. And so Jazz actually is taken aback by this kindness for a minute here. While it's not his Optimus, it's an Optimus he would be willing to follow into the depths of Primus himself here. So, with that being said here, Jazz actually accepts Optimus's offer to officially be a part of Team Prime. Meanwhile, he also sees Jack having a bit of girl trouble with Sierra here. And so, Jazz, being the ever so cool Autobot he is, offers Jack and Sierra to actually go for a ride with him. And Sierra is excited about this, and Jack is a bit, nervous about this here, to which RC actually encourages him and says that she'll tag along for safety. And this is where Jazz transforms, actually opens both of his doors, and both Sierra and Jack enter him. No diddy. And so when he drives off, Jazz actually plays some sensual and romantic music, to which Jack actually tries to play it off here. And Jazz is like, for someone who actually likes the girl, you're kind of doing a pretty bad job at trying to woo her, Jack. To which even Sierra actually giggles at this, and one thing leads to another, and Jack actually scores a second date, thanks to the help of Jazz here. To which, when they get back to base here, this is when the episode Scrap Heap actually plays out here. And Optimus and RC actually go with Jazz, to which Sierra tells her partner good luck, to which he says, yeah, snow's not much of a problem for him. And she gives him a smile saying that that's not what she meant. To which he picks up what his human partner is laying down, and he says, look, he doesn't intend to stay here for that long here, and he is great at the romance stuff, but really I wouldn't be able to which Sierra says just go out there and do it, to which Jazz just kind of rolls his optics and leaves for the space bridge here. And so this actually plays out differently, with Jazz actually getting to know RC and this Optimus a lot better here, to which they actually form their own little bond here. And so, as they're out there, Bumblebee and Bulkhead, as usual, do find the space pod and bring it back here, while Optimus, RC, and Jazz, yes, do go back out into the snowstorm here. And so, while they're in the Arctic, this leaves Bumblebee, Bulkhead, Ratchet, and Cliffjumper all simply searching around the base with Jack, Miko, Raph, and Sierra. And so, when the Autobots find out that their, base communications have been cut off, this is where everything kind of just goes left for them. Or so it would here. However, Jazz kind of has an idea on how to keep warm here. And so Jazz actually turns on the heaters inside of himself here to actually keep himself warm. And so this is where Optimus does the same thing here, and Jazz kind of wraps his arms around RC, considering she is, again, a motorcycle here, and actually keeps her warm, to which this kind of makes the two-wheeler blush a little bit, but she kind of leans into it, even though it's kind of a moment where she's like, look, don't try anything, to which Jazz kind of playfully says that he would never. And so everything in this episode kind of just goes the same here, except adding Cliffjumper here, who does make fun of Bulkhead, even though they are actually being chewed on by Scraplets, telling Bulkhead to wreck her or man up, if you will, here. So that episode pretty much plays out here, except with the addition of Cliffjumper and Jazz, and some little romantic play with Jazz and RC. Then we have the episode Con Job, where they actually meet Wheeljack, or Makeshift disguised as Wheeljack here. And Jazz actually gives a hollow projection of his Wheeljack, to which they're actually a bit shocked. Wheeljack being a scientist in his world here is actually pretty interesting. And so everything in that episode kind of just plays out the same here, except one little thing here. In this timeline, Wheeljack actually decides to stay. Yeah, I think that would actually be a pretty good twist to the story here, meaning that the Autobots actually just have another new member. And so the rest of the episode, when Wheeljack gets his vehicle mode, he gets it a lot earlier. And actually, the Autobots having Wheeljack actually makes it a whole lot more better, in my opinion here. Now, the next episode is Convoy, and this one is interesting here. The Autobots rolling out, defending a bomb crate or whatever here. And so, as they're driving, and as usual, Mech appears here, with Jazz actually scanning the car, saying that, oh, they're humans. Wait a minute. They're humans? Are we seriously being attacked by some humans here? To which, yeah, Mech does open fire here. And so, with that being said here, because of Jazz, RC actually doesn't have to leave the, bomb earlier here. Jazz actually is able to provide some of this similar cover fire that he needs to. However, when the Decepticons drones show up here, they show up with Skyquake, to which Jazz actually transforms and engages Skyquake in a one-on-one, while the Autobots actually have to go toe-to-toe with the Viacons. However, this is where RC now has to jump out here, and, well, she has to engage Mech here. Because, again, now the Autobots are dealing with Skyquake and the Decepticons here. By the way, yes, Skyquake does find Megatron, and Megatron still has the Dark Energy on his chest here, but he's still so banged up that he does need repairs here, and very detailed repairs. So we're going to just kind of leave that right there for now. And so, with that being said here, we get another showdown between Jazz and Skyquake here. Both of these two using the same tactics as they did before. However, Jazz actually does something different. When Skyquake shoots some of his explosive rounds at him, he actually utilizes his magnetic abilities to not only freeze one, but to actually catch it and fling it right back into the, I guess you could say, into the barrel of Skyquake's gun, causing it to blow up in his face. Now, this doesn't kill Skyquake, don't worry, but it is enough for Jazz to eventually get in an opening and pretty much just send Skyquake back flying. And so, this is where their rivalry just kind of takes it up a notch. Skyquake takes out his sword, and Jazz takes out his bladed staff, and they both begin in a hand-to-hand combat format here. However, with the train now being out of control here, they decide that it's actually best for Optimus to actually go ahead and, slow it down here. Now, as the fight goes on, the Viacons do fall, and this is where we see Bulkhead, Bumblebee, and Cliffjumper eventually help out Jazz in pushing back Skyquake, who is actually forced to flee, telling the Autobots, and specifically Jazz, that this isn't the last time they see of him. And so, with that being said here, Convoy actually goes the same. Now, you might say, where is Wheeljack here, considering the sheer fact that I did say Wheeljack does stay with Team Prime here. And so, this is where I would actually have Wheeljack appear in the episode Speed Metal instead. You see, Wheeljack has actually started indulging himself in street racing, which is why he is not there. So, with that being said here, he actually takes a liking to this racing format and how it goes here. And the one to kind of encourage him to do this here is, well, Jack in this situation here. Now, do I think Jack would have girl troubles in this one? No, but he would still have bully troubles, and I actually think just having Sierra, Miko, and Raph during the convoy would actually be a good experience for him, well, for Miko and Sierra to, well, bond here. However, this is where, everything kind of shifts when Knockout comes in here instead here. You see, Vince challenges Jack to a race here. And so the street race kind of does go the same as in canon. And so Vince actually does race Jack, but there's not that overwhelming pressure to, well, I guess you could say impress Sierra on Jack's behalf here. RC does indulge in it because, again, he calls him ugly, and Sierra and Jazz are able to witness this here. So Vince actually challenged him to the street race, and so he begs RC to do it, just pleading with her like, hey, let me just do this here. To which Sierra actually discourages him not to do in this timeline, as he doesn't have to prove anything to, Vince, but Jack just wants him to shut him up so bad. He then asks Cliff Jumper. Cliff Jumper's like, no, I'm not getting in trouble with Optimus. Heck nah. He asks Bombi. Bombi also says no. And there comes Wheeljack. Yeah, y'all already know what this record about to do. He tearing up the road, right? So, with that being said here, Jack is able to get Wheeljack to do it, and so this kind of builds Wheeljack's trust with, Jack in this timeline here. And, well, when the race happens, yeah, Knockout is there. But, Wheeljack just smokes Knockout in the race here. And so, this gets Vince mad as well, and Vince gets captured. Like in the original, because Vince just has to, some way and somehow, just bully Jack or try to beat him up here. And so when he gets captured, this is where the rest of the Autobots show up here. And so instead of Optimus being the one to catch Knockout, it's actually Jazz. And Jazz even states that he's disappointed in Wheeljack for actually doing that here. And so Optimus does appear and, well, actually commends Jazz on holding the team accountable here. But he still needs an explanation from the rest of them. To which Jazz does simply nod here. And actually just kind of, well, he tries to defend the team here, but it's not going to fly with Optimus. So Speed Metal kind of goes on the same. The next one is called Deus Ex Machina. Now, I know I am switching the episodes around here, but again, I want to kind of, switch out some of these episodes to kind of fit where I need them here. So Deus Ex Machina is the next episode here. And in this one, I think I would have it centered around the humans a bit more. Yes, because of the Autobots here. And we could actually say Jazz, RC, and Cliff Jumper are all going for a drive together, with Cliff Jumper actually seeing the spark or the chemistry between Jazz and RC. And he actually starts encouraging Jazz to, maybe just give it a chance here. I mean, he understands that maybe he will leave towards his dimension, but maybe this would actually be better if he stayed with them. Maybe stayed with her. They could be best pals and everything. And so Jazz does consider this, but he is still, worried about what's going on back in his own universe. What's happened to his Prime, his Bumblebee, his Cliff Jumper, all these Autobots that he's, met along the way. He doesn't want to feel like he abandoned his universe, and hopes that maybe some way he could find a way to get back here. And so, with that being said here, Deus Ex Machina does carry out the same here. With having Sierra there and having someone a bit more intelligent there, they're actually able to sneak out, and Miko doesn't get caught in this timeline. But again, we still get Bulkhead's moment of glory. He still fights against Breakdown and stuff like that there, except, the whole first... Well, I guess you could actually say the first time they fight does kind of happen here, except it's not the first time they fought, if you get what I mean here. It's still the sheer fact that Breakdown does overwhelm Bulkhead, albeit Bulkhead does do, a bit better here. And so, we now go into another episode, Predatory. And in this episode, this will actually be centered around Sierra and Jack's relationship, along as with RC and Jazz's relationship actually fully forming here with Arachnid. Jazz fully gets the backstory with RC. And well, this actually happens when RC is webbed up, and Jazz is actually able to not only fight off Arachnid, but to severely injure her, causing Arachnid to have no other choice but to retreat back to her ship, which does wind up exploding. But this does not kill Arachnid, as she's able to get out and get away in time here. So Jazz fully gets the backstory with RC here, how, Tailgate was her first partner, and she can't afford to lose anyone she cares about now, even him. To which Jazz is a little bit taken aback by this here, and he actually talks about how his war was, how his world was, how he lost his partner, his Prowl, how he was just as determined and by the books as any other Autobot, but unfortunately, he lost him to the likes of a Decepticon or to the likes of Megatron himself. And unfortunately, he could never get him back. And he could never take revenge because, again, he felt like it would have clouded him. But that doesn't mean he ain't gonna try to fight the person that did it. To which this does make RC laugh here, and she does take his hand here, which does give them a pausing moment here. But before they can actually even, seal the deal here, they are interrupted by their human partners. Now, the next episode is of Sick Mind, where Optimus actually does get sick here. And so, while they are talking about ways to cure Optimus here, they sneak aboard the ship, with it being Jazz the one to actually start leading it here. And I actually have a moment where the Autobots start panicking, and well, everything just starts happening, But what actually happens here is that Jazz is able to pull everybody together and, well, actually shows his, lieutenant status for a reason. He's commanded Autobots in troubled times before, and they're not going to let Optimus, even this Optimus here, down no time soon here. And so, with that being said here, Jazz actually leads the mission onto the warship with RC and Bumblebee here, with him actually maintaining guard, even locking down the room with Megatron in it here. And he sees that Megatron is still alive and still recovering. And so, with that being said here, they're able to pull off the cortico-psychic patch a lot smoother than the original here. However, as the room is locked down here, and well, Jazz breaks the controls on the other side so that no one can get in here, Jazz and RC both begin to talk about Megatron here. And she asks him, what was his Megatron like? Jazz takes a moment to pause, and then he talks about him, how ruthless he was, how monstrous he was here. He even ate the sparks of his opponents here. Something that even makes RC retch and just look in disgust here. To which she says, what kind of Megatron did you have? And Jazz pretty much sums it up, an entire monster. Something I would never, even though he would fight him to defend the innocent, he would never dream of being able to fight him in a one-on-one situation. It's a wonder that his Optimus, even fought him at all. He's terrifying. And so, with that being said here, RC and him also begin to bond a bit further, and this is where they actually share their first kiss together here. Meanwhile, Bumblebee is inside Megatron's mind, actually trying to get the information, and successfully does it here. However, before they go here, remember, Megatron still has the dark energy on his chest here. And before, Skyquake could blow the door open, Jazz actually rips out the dark energy in Megatron's chest and looks at Megatron in the eyes as he, I guess kind of the same situation with Starscream, where he just wakes up for a minute and then passes out here. And this time he crushes it in his hand and telling Skyquake that he hopes he can take over just as well as this Megatron did, before dipping with RC and Bumblebee, now being able to save Optimus here. However, thanks to the sheer fact that there is more dark energy on here, they're actually able to get Megatron up and running again. And so, out of his head is actually played about a bit differently here. We have Starscream freaking out, panicking even, saying that if he doesn't do something quick, Skyquake will have his position and he'll be nothing. He needs something to do, something quick, something fast here. And so, Starscream actually enacts his plan to try and melt the Arctic here. Meanwhile, Skyquake has knockout, focus, and finish on repairs here, Without knockout, this actually goes a lot differently in the timeline here, with all the Autobots being there, and with the sheer fact that Megatron never leaves outside of Bumblebee's body. Megatron is able to return, and well, he kind of sees Starscream trying to enact his plan, and Starscream is a little bit, scared and taken aback here. However, remember, Starscream never ripped the Dark Energon out of his chest, and here's the funny thing about it. He never says that Megatron's biggest mistake was allowing Optimus to live, meaning Starscream is actually spared a beating, but Megatron still wants to see this plan here. And so, when it actually happens here and all the Autobots are there here, he actually notices that there's another Autobot amongst your ranks, to which Starscream kind of explains that this was one of his failed plans, and Megatron just rolls his eye and says this one better not fail either. To which, when Optimus actually shows up on the warship, he's actually accompanied by Jazz in this timeline. To which Jazz simply smiles as Skyquake grits his teeth here, and well, both of them go at it yet again. This time using new moves that they learned from each other. Jazz utilizing his speed in combination with devastating strikes, actually using his power at just the right time, while Skyquake learns to be more agile and using his firepower in more, I guess you could say, different spurts, if you will here. He's not using it in a linear fashion to try and overwhelm his opponent right then and there. He's overwhelming them through time and patience, similar to Jazz here, showing that they both have a similar respect to each other and respect each other's methods here. So, that being said here, yeah, we actually get a pretty decent episode here, with Megatron actually going toe-to-toe with Optimus Prime here, actually going in a much more different fight than the original here. I wouldn't say is reminiscent or pretty much similar to the One Shall Fall and then the One Shall Rise, part 3-part special and stuff like that there. Now, Optimus does gain the upper hand here, but it's not by a significant margin here. So with that being said here, this actually buys Wheeljack enough time to come in, stump Starscream on the face yet again. He's obviously going to have to get some sort of repercussions here. And so, Wheeljack then simply slices the Sun Disk in half, blowing all 3 Autobots off here. And well, Megatron says it's time to go. And so, this actually means another wonderful thing. Shadow Zone never happens. Starscream doesn't get, the sliver of Dark Energon that was in Megatron's chest, right? He never gets that. So, that means he doesn't raise his undead warrior with it. And he doesn't get beat here, so this means that we have a free episode to plan. And I would actually have this mission, or this episode, be called Char. You see, in this episode here, Megatron wants a much better edge, a much more cleaner edge back in his favor here. And so, Skyquake actually says that he has a wonderful idea on who could give them that edge. And so, Skyquake actually presses a button, or better yet, he has Soundwave actually contact planet Char, to which we actually see Striker, a female Decepticon, a nice, robust, and thick one, I might add, actually answered the call, and she bows to Megatron on the monitor and says that she and her team will be there immediately. So with that being said here, 5 meteors crash down. All different areas. Oil Slick actually takes the form of a motorcycle and is met by RC. We then have Striker, Blackout, and Cyclonus actually crash into the military base, met by Optimus, Bulkhead, and Jazz. And then we finally have Spitor crash landing in Nevada's zoo, and he is met by Cliffjumper and Wheeljack. And that's where we'll leave it off here, you guys. Please comment down below, like and subscribe and share with your friends. This is Legendary Grimlock, and I hope you guys have a blessed day. Peace.